I'm looking forward to when Alan comes on. We'll talk about when he gets on here, but Alan quit the show at one point. Like
Oh, he quit.
episode 7 is called Alan Quits the Podcast.
Wow.
And
Oh, Massenburg.
Massenburger.
My man outside. Look at him. Bro, you on mute, bro.
I don't even want to correct it.
Property Ebonics.
What up?
Listen, my Uber got a flat tire and kicked me out the car.
What the fuck?
I swear
That's
to God,
disrespectful, bro.
I'm pissed off. I was like, yo, you can't just take me. He was like, no. I gotta keep going.
My man going through it, and you going through it. That's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that.
You're like in a Gateway shopping center.
Yeah, where you at?
Gospel Time Church
behind church in Brooklyn, next to a church in the Checkers and the Popeyes over there, so you know it's the hood.
Yeah, damn, you outside, bro.
They probably got Wi-Fi in the church.
Yeah,
God got you on this one.
Nah, if it's a black church, they ain't got no Wi-Fi. Ain't big enough for that. Nah, man, they just got that AC fixed last week.
The name of the church is just Gospel Truth.
Yeah, there ain't no Wi-Fi in there. They ain't even got you got to use your cellular data for that. That's what that is.
How you feeling good about you'll be able to? You're good, or you want to?
I'm waiting on another Uber.
Interactive episode of Proper Ebonics.
We outside for real. How you doing, Setoiyo, man? I haven't seen you in a while.
Brother, I mean, I'm all right, man. I'm a little worried about you, but I'm
trying to deflect over here. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, how are you doing? I'm inside. I'm inside my studio apartment. I'm all right. How are you?
You're in. Are you in New York right now?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn right now. Like, I was going from my girl's spot to the store. I was on record at the store or whatever. And I knew I was gonna be like 3 minutes late. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's all right, I'll be all right. But then we get like a block and he's like, yeah, I got flat tire. Get out and look. I'm like, get out and look. You know what I mean?
Why I gotta do work?
Yeah. Why? He was like, do you know where to get a flat tire fixed? I was like, no, but just keep driving. Like,
yeah.
Are you far away from the shop?
No, I'm not, but I'm too far to walk. You know what I mean? And I got I got a box with me and everything. So like,
well, everyone, welcome to Proper Ebonics. Proper Ebonics with Kirk and Alan. Alan, he's Alan goes through it here and there, and these are one of those moments where he is going through it. So we will work with you. We're going to be covering a bunch of things. This is this very special episode, and one of those reasons why this episode's special, we got a very special guest, ladies and gentlemen. You know him, you love him, respect him. Give it up for Setoiyo.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm very excited to be on Proper Ebonics. This is fun.
We've had a short list of guests for like a while since like we started this, and you've always been on it. So it was like for the 100th episode, it's like, oh, this seems fitting.
It feels good. The name is solid out. The product is trusted out here. It feels good.
Yeah, man.
Feels good.
Indeed. And as mentioned, man, this is a special episode in the sense that this is episode 100. Yeah. Proper Ebonics. We're in triple digits, bro.
Congratulations to y'all.
Yo, I didn't think we was gonna make it this far.
We may not. We may not.
Yeah. It's still to be determined, right? It's still like, hey man, we holding on.
Yeah, man. I was just telling Setoiyo before this how I was doing some flashbacks and how episode 7 of Alan Quits the Podcast. We almost did not make it to episode 10.
Bro, you quit episode 7?
You don't understand. I was this is how dedicated I was to the podcast. I was so mad that we couldn't find a time to get together. You know what I mean? Like we all, it's me, got my schedule, you got Kirk's schedule, then you got producer Pat, his schedule. We all do stand up and got lives. So we couldn't like find time to get together. You know,
and it was in person at that time too. So it was like driving to Harrisburg and coordinating that, and it definitely was difficult at times, and like because we wanted to do it like weekly, every other week, and we found we were doing like maybe 2 episodes per month if we were lucky,
right?
And then that the frustration bubbled up in Alan.
Alan wanted a commitment to this relationship. Alan said, "We not putting in this quality time." God damn it. And I will end this. Okay. I care, but I can't go on like this anymore. Please.
That's essentially, Alan, you had a speech. Yuki was like, yo, guys, I got something to talk about.
My man went Pearl Harbor, y'all. All the parties said, listen, hey, I'm gonna air y'all out right quick. Let me put you on game. I ain't happy. And if I ain't happy, can't nobody be happy.
I was thinking about it before I got there too. Like, I remember I was consulting with my close friends. I was like, yo, man, listen, I really want to do this, but like, we ain't ever doing it. It's just not working, And it's like, and I thought about it. Listen, man, that speech wasn't out the blue. I drove for 40 minutes thinking about this shit.
I sense it. I took up the role of the partner that has done wrong. So I was like, give me one more chance.
Give
me one more chance. Let's get on this mic one last time. Yep. And if you don't feel right after that, you can walk.
Alan hit y'all on some, hey, we got to talk. Like the most dreaded, anytime you hear your girl say that, oh, we got to talk. You'd be like, oh, no, oh, okay. Yeah. But you got to be cool, right? You got to be cool. You got to hit, oh, we got to talk. Okay. When you want to talk right now? Nah, I'm going to come see you. All right. What's this about? Oh, you don't know when I get there. Oh.
I'd rather a woman just hit me like randomly. I don't like the whole, hey, come over, we gotta talk. Yeah. Just talk to me randomly. That's better.
Yeah, tell me now. Tell me now. Don't sit there and be like, yeah, let's talk tomorrow. I gotta deal with a whole day.
Just like that. The anxiety around the suspension of it. You want to prep up though for those talks. Like I had a talk with my roommate like a year or two ago, and I was like, yo, I have some things to say. And then he was like, oh, you want to do it right now? I was like, no, I gotta eat first. Like I was like, I gotta get this energy. So like I was like, nah, man, not right now. Yeah. So I ate my ramen noodles, knocked on his door. We walked to the living room, and it was a very effective conversation. So
right, yeah, nice. My man had some energy in him. He was taken care of. He said, "Nah, let me eat first before I put this work on you."
If Bae wants to talk to you, try to get her when she hasn't had a full course meal yet.
Yeah,
try to get
her. She's too quickly because they already coming through mega prepared. They already got a PowerPoint presentation. They got they done screen capped everything. They already, yeah, bro. They already ready. So it's already. That's the thing when they sit there and they say, no, let's plan for this time. It's like, nah, they getting a full course meal in. They got their nails done. They did yoga in the morning. They are good. They got their coffee in. They took a shit. They ready.
And good for them. If you, in terms of communication, if you want to effectively get your point across, shout out to them for that. You got to get your point across. Sometimes you got to get the energy ready and all that. Before we go too further into all that stuff, and for those of you that don't know and all that stuff, welcome to the podcast at episode 100. I feel like you probably have an idea of what's going on right now. Alan is outside. He's committing to the bit. Alan's in these streets.
I keep scrolling back to my Uber app to see where the hell this other driver is at.
It's all good. And if your data doesn't get burnt out, it's I don't want you to kill your data though.
It's 2021. I got unlimited data.
Right.
What?
I'm still on 2Gs right now. Come on, man.
Oh, you gotta get on that 5G, bro. You gotta come home.
Yeah, man. I'm trying. They keep giving me warnings like use this amount of data. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm driving home with no music today. I will drive in silence. That is okay.
You gotta grow up, Kirk.
Anyway. What do you mean grow up? I gotta grow up. I'm very grown.
Kirk's still waiting for 9 o'clock to make calls.
Right? Hey, don't text me after 9. That's when my texts get unlimited. I tell you, you gotta text me after 9 for that.
Right.
For those new to it, though, a note new to our guests, Setoiyo is a comedian based in Philadelphia. Has been doing for quite some time. When I first started back in Laughs and Fairmont, that was one of my first Philly rooms. That was my introduction to a lot of people. You being one of them as well, and you've been a staple within the community for quite some time. So yeah, man, it's interesting. Do you, in terms of performing, what would you? Because I know before you were in Ohio, is that correct?
Yes.
How has that transition been? I know it's been a few years for you, but I know that was what made that choice of coming to Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, long story short, man, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I started comedy out there, and it was interesting for me because basically I was having a lot of fun in Columbus, and I was learning the rules, and I was learning basically, Columbus is a good place to start because it tells you everything that you need to know, the bare bones basics. There were enough mics. There were enough showcases. The problem with it is that I felt that it was a problem. I happened to be the only open micer who was black, who's a black dude. So while I'm getting a lot of opportunities and stuff like that, I had this sinking feeling that I'm in this mostly white space. And so as a result, it was home. It wasn't pushing me to do nothing. Right. And I remember having a dream where I was in DC. I was at the DC Improv, and I had a dream where I was on stage and I was saying words and the audience was just looking at me. And I had this sinking feeling that, oh man, this place ain't really pushing me I'm able to just talk about some shit that I can just get away with. That ain't really nothing, because I'm just around all these white folk all like this. So I had a really sinking feeling that if I go somewhere where it's a more diverse environment, they gonna look at me like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? Like, why is he talking in this way? Why isn't he talking about himself in a more authentic form? So I did Columbus Funniest Person. I made it to the finals, and I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of done here. Let me go somewhere else. And I don't know why. I knew I wanted to go east, but a lot of my homies had gone to New York, and it just stopped doing comedy because they had to start all over again. And the cost of living was so expensive that there was no time to do comedy. They'd be working all day, and then they'd be depressed in this bigger, faster environment, and they just go home and want to eat, So I was like, well, I don't want that to happen to me. Let me see. And I thought of Philly because I had never seen a bad artist come out of Philly. Like, you ain't never seen no artist get big that's from Philly that's ever been bad. It just doesn't happen. So I was like, let me figure out if I like the East Coast, and let me go to Philly and get my ass kicked. And it kicked my ass. So
when you mentioned the idea of like starting out in Ohio and doing the open mics there, did you, when getting kind of like those fundamentals, did you feel like you were able to build a foundation that was able to help you when you did go to Philly?
Yeah. So when I came here, I already had like 15 minutes. Now, looking back, it's not to say these 15 minutes were good, but they were 15 actual, minutes of consistency. So I already had a framework of my jokes. So it was good to come into a space with those jokes, with those things. Keep in mind, all of those jokes are gone. I use one. All of them are gone. But I had something, you know what I'm saying, to then come into this space with, and then be like, here's what I have to present. So I was competent, you know what I'm saying? And then quickly realizing, okay, this shit got to go though.
Yeah. Even when like the material isn't necessarily like grade A, having that in you of like just some sort of structure, it kind of gives you like a level of like confidence of like, okay, well, I have the outline for this. I know, like, I'm not just going into this without knowing anything. And at that time, a lot of times, at least for me, I'll look back at material where it's like, I'm not using this again. But back then, I was like, I feel good about this. Yeah. So like, you're going on stage with stuff like, I do feel good about this. Maybe just not recognizing that it could be better.
It's grade A for what you have at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the best thing that you have at that time. And of course, you'll go back and watch old sets. Like, I have old sets from when I first moved out here, like, still. And I'm like, oh, this crowd, it went well. This crowd liked it. It was a good set for that time. Objectively, for that time period, it's a good set. Now I can look at it and be like, that was dog shit. I will never say that ever again. But that's what I had at the time, and it worked at that time.
Yeah.
One of the good things of coming from somewhere else and then like popping up already with established jokes and stuff is people never seen you like suck.
Right.
Like, those comedians that you see just starting out, you're like, man, they're really bad. Because we all are when we first begin, but people have never seen that, in Philly from you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I came in with something. So it was even like the first mic I went to was the Raven Lounge. And I remember introducing myself to the hosts, and it was Conrad Roth, and he was like, that's funny. No one's introduced themselves to me before. but coming from where I came from, that's what you did. Like, you went to any mic you went to the host, and you, especially if it was your first time there, you went to the host and introduced yourself. So that's just what I went and did. And they put me up at 1:50 in the morning. I got there at 8:00, but I didn't complain. I was like, okay, cool. Saw when the list was, went up there, and, they were laughing at one, like at that time. They didn't expect me. They just like, they were, oh, he's got jokes. And then Conrad, he was like, oh, I didn't know you actually like had done this. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, I just moved here. I'm from Ohio. And he's like, oh, you should just told me you was a comic. And I was like, I thought that was clear when I introduced myself to you.
They come here to do for this comedy open mic.
Right.
I guess they're used to, especially a place like Raven, a lot of people, it is like their first time going up, and it's like, oh, just open mic. And sometimes, as I'm sure you've seen, it's like, is this what they came here to do, sort of thing? Is this meant for comedy? It seems like they're just kind of saying things.
Yeah, and also remember at that time period, Raven back then was kind of brutal. Like, and not so much in terms of like, oh, it was not to say it was like bad, but nah, man, comedy back then was much harsher. It was it was much harsher, much more like get the fuck out of my way type of energy. So, and killers were coming through all the time. So it was one of them things where it was just like, hey man, like we here to work and we here to kill, and we here to like, suck a girl's titties in the restroom after we done crushing up here. We don't really give a fuck about what like. So it was that type of energy, so it was like everybody, you either you were an established dude and everyone knew and you came correct and you were respected, and or you were just some jabroni, and it's like, get the fuck over there until you prove that you have something and that you're worth something. I got cocaine to do in this bathroom, bro.
I like the idea of just being a jabroni and there to suck breasts. I'm like, oh, I guess there's comedy here too, but
hey,
that's why Setoiyo moved to Philly, just to suck. Right.
Hey man, I had to suck different titties out here, man.
I haven't done Raven Lounge much. I've been there before, but my impression of Raven Lounge has always been that's almost like a nightclub feel to it, almost like a night, like almost like a punk rock nightclub feel to it. And the idea of like performing comedy within that, it takes a lot of like commanding the stage, sort of thing. It takes a lot of like, okay, you could light me at like a minute or two, but if I'm saying the proper things, it's like, you can't even light me right now.
Yeah,
like I am commanding the space.
Yeah, if I'm cooking, you gotta let that ride. Yeah, like Raven. Yeah, to me, I think Raven at its best, when it's run properly, is basically it's a party that happens to have stand-up comedy,
right?
And there's a wildness. It's wildly intimate because of the space, and yeah, you do have to command them at all times. You have to have the microphone, and you got like the audience has to know, oh, he ain't afraid of us. We gonna listen to what they got to say. And again, even if and you got to be prepared for the unexpected. Like, you just got to be prepared that there might be somebody in this audience who is annihilated, right? Like, who is just drunk off their ass. And you got to be able to handle that and make it work to the best of your ability in that space, especially if you're like, nah, I got shit I actually got to work on.
Right.
And plus, given its location, it's 3 blocks away from Helium Comedy Club. So back in the day, you would always have the host for like, so it's on a Thursday night. So you would have the host, the feature, and the headliner generally just come through and do a set. And it was one of those environments where back in the day, if Kirk Metzger came in to do a set because he's headlining all weekend at Helium Comedy Club, guess what? Kirk doing 30 and everybody's night is fucked up. Wherever you thought you was going, you ain't going there. And if you do get up, you got 2 minutes. And you mad about that? Get fucked. Either deal with it or leave. Yeah. And you had to sit there and be like, can I deal with that? Because then all of a sudden you get to see killers for 30 minutes. Ted Alejandro's coming through. Right. What you gonna say? No, Miss Pat coming through. You gonna say no? You gonna be mad that you can sit under this learning tree of greatness and be like, okay,
as well. Yeah. You use the word intimate, and that's something that I've always associated with it. It is a very intimate experience, and having to like kind of be fluid with it. Like, you could go there with like material of like, oh, this is like what I want to work on. But if you don't do the work to like address the space almost, or be within the space at the very least, it seems like it can kind of the room won't necessarily like turn on you, but like you could lose your pace, even if you're doing grade A material. Which I think is a very special thing to have. I think it's good to have rooms like that of like, because I feel like I've seen like you, Keen Cobb, and like And for those of you that know, Setoiyo is one of the hosts at Ravens, or was hosting for quite some time. And you're able to see that in your style, even outside of Raven Lounge, of like that commanding the space and being able to work with the audience and it feeling very natural. And I can't help but feel like rooms like that can be credited for it.
Definitely. Spots like Raven demand that you be present at all times. Like they just demand that you be present so it doesn't matter. It teaches you to be more present. So no matter where you go, and I think to anyone listening, if they're in another comedy city or whatever else, they have their spot that is akin to that, I would hope. But it's like it's a space that demands that you be present at all times, so that when you do go to these bigger spaces, you have that skill set within you that it's like not only do you have your jokes, do you have your material, you are present. So you are bringing them into this.
Right.
So
it's
to
like
the point that it's not so much that not only are you funny, but your shit is fun.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Fun element.
Yeah,
I think of the quote. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, sort of thing. So if you're going into those other spaces, and like if you're prepared because you've been to war before, it's going to help you out a lot.
Yeah, you're not as shook. Alan knows you go into them spots, you'd be like, okay, everything gets demonstrably easier in your brain to handle because you'd be like, I have seen some shit,
Alan's seeing some shit right now.
Oh yeah, Alan frozen in the Matrix right now. Yeah.
Alan took the interactive approach for episode 100 of like if you choose A or B, Alan will go on this side of town versus Alan will go to the other side.
No, I'm present. I'm present with you guys. I'm here. I'm just my computer set up really quick.
This is the most location changes I've seen in one episode.
It's episode 100, baby.
Yeah, proud of man. We're gonna talk a little bit more about comedy and all that stuff, but to get into some quick topics, I from my understanding, you watch UFC?
Yes, I do.
And UFC 268 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big one.
This
is a big one. This is this has been in the making for quite some time. We got Usman versus Covington, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. For the welterweight championship. It's going to be part 2. Many people consider their first match to be one of the best in the welterweight divisions. Both trained in wrestling. Their first match stood up the whole time. And a lot of people that may not be familiar with UFC or just MMA may just be aware of the antics that have been around this fight and how they've been building it for the last 2 years and such. Do you have any picks in this one?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's important to note that I am first generation Nigerian American.
That's right.
So I am Kamaru Usman all the way.
Nigerian nightmare.
Yeah, the Nigerian nightmare. So I'm Nigerian. We hold ourselves to a certain standard. Kamaru Usman has done right by the culture. He continues to do right by the culture. He's an absolute stud in the cage. So I'm Usman all day, and that little snowtep Colby Covington. I hope he is ready to eat them hands. Although, and keep in mind, Covington is a dog in that cage too. He's not a scrub. He's a shit character and shit personality, but he ain't no scrub in there. So, and also he's been pretty well rested. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't had to do a lot in a while. So that has me a little nervous. But I'm gonna go Usman.
I think Usman's gonna take as well, just of almost the opposite. Like he hasn't been rested, but the last 2 fights that he had, he did them pretty convincingly. He's pretty well conditioned. He's just been showing consistently and boosting up over the last few years. I think Covington. I think he's going to be very wild card. I don't know what to expect from Covington. I think Usman, he's kind of like honed in a style and just getting more and more proficient at that. Whereas Covington, the last time we saw him was probably against Woodley in 2019 or like the end of 2019 or so. And he was very dominant in that. We don't know what he's going to pull in this. And, he may have a little bit more motivation because he lost the first one. And his whole career over the last 2 years has been based on getting this rematch.
Yeah, he's definitely more motivated. The Woodley fight, I mean, Woodley was washed by that point.
Right.
So, like we all know that. But yeah, man, he's definitely more motivated because, Usman beat him up. I mean, like Colby, yeah. To Pat's point, Colby beat the same guy Jake Paul did. So it's just like, so it's like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think Covington, Covington is a stud inside that cage, but he's been very inactive. He's actually talked his way into this fight more so than actually shown it. It's not like he's actually beaten dudes. Like he beat a former champion, but he beat a former champion who Usman aged in the ring. Like those Usman fought Woodley and aged him you saw him get old in that fight because Usman was just all over him. So he's been able to talk his way into this fight, which is peak whiteness.
Yeah. It's I give it credit in sense because a lot of people could say like, oh well, if we're looking at this from a purist angle, how comes it's not Leon Edwards versus Usman sort of thing? But I think that speaks to the idea of hyping up a fight and the credit to it of like, this is what people want. Like Leon Edwards, sure, maybe, and ranking wise, why not? But I want to see the Covington versus Usman. Not to mention the pre-press conference, and they're doing it in Madison Square Garden of all places. So it has that big fight feel to it. The whole card's going to be good. They have Chandler versus Justin Gaichi in the lightweight division. It was going to start the card off. And these two are they're quite dynamite in the ring. So that's going to be interesting. I'm prepping up by going to Buffalo Wild Wings. My buddy Ray, shout out to Ray.
Of course.
Yeah, we're gonna get seats at like 8:00. The fight's not gonna start probably until 11:50. We're just gonna secure the bag, and then it's gonna be a nice time.
Does it come on pay-per-view?
Yeah, it's up like ESPN Plus, and then from there you buy the pay-per-view, which we didn't want to do, so we just go to Buffalo Wild Wings and just pay for the wings instead.
Yeah, that's what we used to do back in Columbus. We go to BW3s, Buffalo Wild Wings, and it was like, yeah, man, we'll just spend like $40 on food as opposed to dropping like $80 for this pay-per-view. And it's more than and it was always fun because you're around all these people and you guys get to sit there and be. I remember the funnest UFC that I was at BW3s was McGregor Diaz 2.
Oh yeah.
And because there were some Irish dudes in there, and they're like, "Come on, Conor!" Like, and meanwhile, I don't give a fuck about no Conor McGregor. I think that dude is square. So me and the homies are over there with Diaz heavy, and we are, and so it's like a bunch of black dudes going back and forth with a bunch of Irish folk, and both parties are down for the smoke. We was just younger, so it was just like, hey man. We don't want it to happen, but y'all keep on going on with this Conor shit, and y'all keep on getting loud. You better fucking realize you in America, son. We don't take we xenophobic as fuck over here. You just because you're white don't mean we like you neither. We go yell back,
Right.
So yeah.
Damn, I hope that doesn't happen tonight.
Y'all didn't want to get no drama, but they definitely didn't want to get no drama.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like, hey man, we know the way home. You I know where my crib at. Yours is far.
Alan, will you be watching this tonight? Will you be tuning in?
Setoiyo, let me tell you, this is why Kirk is a great podcast partner, a great podcast host, because he knew that I was getting my stuff set up and I was getting my shit together. Yep. He picked the topic that he already knew that I didn't have too much to chime in about.
Yep. He had that buffer for you. He's like, my man hold you down out here. He's like, oh no, Master, I got him. Don't even worry about it. It's like, I'm gonna kill 15 on this. Easy. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna be watching it. I love to watch the highlights on ESPN. That's my thing. I love to see people get knocked out and all that stuff. But like I'm not gonna lie, I haven't gotten into UFC. Just haven't gotten into it.
Bro, this one may be the one to pull you in. This is like one of those monumental ones where it's like you're gonna be seeing a lot of different clips and there's a lot of like big narratives around it. So it's beyond the knockouts, bro. It's the art. I feel like you may enjoy this one.
Also, a good way to get plugged into, at least for me, MMA Twitter is always fun. So on Twitter, it's gonna be in real time. You're gonna be finding stuff out, and you know how Twitter's my favorite online app or whatever because everything's so instantaneous.
I see you over there. You be active. You be on top of all the topics.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just so quick and it's so interactive. And MMA Twitter is perfect because now you got Usman versus Covington. That's going to bring in MAGA Twitter. That's going to bring in Black Twitter.
Yeah.
And the jokes immediate. And then as you're going to be, I'll just be there cooking. I'll just be like, yeah, boom. Now I'll tell you this much though. If Usman wins again, I'm gonna be so loud. I'm gonna be so loud. I'm gonna be unbearable. I'm gonna just be unbearable. I'm gonna just sit there. Oh, look at this Snowtep Colby Covington, this fake Conor McGregor wannabe. That's all he is. That's the thing that annoys me about Covington. It's smart, but it's like all he realized he's not interesting at all. He's not an interesting personality. Right. So he had to come up with this MAGA character. He's basically doing Conor McGregor, just doing it worse.
He's doing McGregor meets Trump.
Yeah.
I've noticed that yesterday with his like hand movements. He was doing some Trump stuff. I was like, oh, interesting.
This is all fake. His voice is annoying. Number one, he's ugly. Number two,
I'd say he's
always he's ugly. He's ugly.
He's a handsome man.
He's an ugly dude. He's ugly. He's ugly.
I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. I'm gonna say Covington. Nice smile.
Oh, Covington looks like the niggas I went to high school with. That man is so mid. Like he's mid, bro. Objectively,
he called him Reggie.
Yeah, he's just a regular dude. Here's how you know he ugly. If he was fat, he'd be disgusting. The real test of an objectively pretty person, if they gained a whole lot of weight but their face was still cute, you'd be like, that's a pretty person. Covington wouldn't be like that.
Be like, ew.
Damn, I'm trying to picture like what it'd be like if I was chubby. Damn, am I cute?
Yeah. Look, Pat even said it looks like every police sketch of a mass shooter. Facts.
Now I gotta look up and see what Covington looks like.
Yeah, no, definitely check him out with that. Real quick, while we're getting into it, Alan, you want to get into some prop suggestions?
Yeah, I'll definitely like to get into some suggestions.
Prop suggestions, man. My prop suggestion is going to be actually we'll do a mutual one. Prop suggestion is going to be check out Megan and Alyssa's show Ghosted at Punchline.
Yes.
It's a show where comics do their sets and they have a partner ghostwrite sets for them. Alan and I were lucky enough to do this Thursday, and it was a blast. It was a blast to do. It was a blast just to watch. The audience, you could tell they were really into it. It gave, as a comic, the opportunity to like be able to write for someone else, which doesn't always pop up. And if you're interested in writing, that's a very cool exercise to be able to do and be able to execute as well. So that's my prop suggestion. If you're in the Philly area, Punchline area, which I know you're around there quite often, check out Ghosted. Wonderful show.
I agree with your suggestion, but I think the only problem is it only happens once a year.
Yeah, this prop suggestion is going to be a yearly one. If you're in 2022 right now, keep this prop suggestion in mind.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'll give a suggestion next. My suggestion, and this is not what I plan to do, but I suggest that we always give ourselves a buffer. Like if you have to go anywhere, give yourself like a 10 to 15 minute buffer. Yeah. Black people, stop showing up exactly on time.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen to your Uber's tires. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just give yourself a buffer, man. Because I learned the hard way. I was like, I'm pushing it. But then when this happened, I was like, I gotta stop pushing shit. I gotta.
No, I hear that, man. I struggle with time management with a lot of things. And it's hard to, I don't know. I'm always like, this is something that I'll improve on. Or even when I'm in the moment, I'm like, it's not gonna. I'll be there. It's fine. Then there's a minute before it starts. It's like, I had 20 minutes. I was playing UFC 4 for 40 minutes. Why did I do this?
Yeah, you always want to give yourself that buffer because you never want to sit there. To me, it's anxiety inducing. So if I don't give myself enough time, I'm anxious.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, like you say, it's like, someone's tires could go, and then I'm just sort of stuck out here. And I hate being dependent on other people. Yes. So I hate being dependent on other people. So I'll leave a spot I'm at Punchline tonight. I always try to make sure, and it's my comfort. It doesn't matter if I'm hosting or if I'm featuring. I featured at Helium a couple weeks ago. I was still there an hour early just for myself.
Yeah.
Just for myself. Like, nah, man, put yourself right in there because I know me. I'll fuck around and just start doing other shit. And then, I need to be there.
Yeah.
And then so it's either I got to be there an hour early. I'm gonna be there 15 minutes before the show starts, and then they're gonna be like, "Where you at?" And I'm like, I'm on the way, and I hate that. I don't want to go. Where you at? I'm like, nah, I got it.
I feel we both had that on Thursday. I showed up like ETA wise 30 minutes early to Punchline. Then there was like 3 concerts going on, no parking. So I got there like maybe 10 minutes prior. I know you had a similar incident as well. It's like it's an annoying feeling. It's like especially when like you do make that buffer of like, oh no, I did do this, but X, Y, and Z did happen. It's like, oh come on, like
it was really bad on Thursday. I ended up like parking illegal. I parked on like the sidewalk, and like I got lucky. I didn't get a ticket or anything, so it was good. But I didn't give myself a buffer. I like to play with time. Like I like to be like, can I do this? Can I shave off 10 minutes from my GPS ETA?
Alan a daredevil boy with that time. And he a daredevil. This man got kids. My man said, "Can I pull it off?" You are a father.
Look, two times I was late. Okay,
right. Huzzah! Goddamn.
Yeah, man.
So, Setoiyo, do you by chance have any product suggestions? It's not required, but
no, I do. Actually, I want to go along with that. Hey, if you guys have Amazon Prime, you should check out Eric Terrell's special. Eric Terrell has a special. It's live at Helium Comedy Club. It is excellent. It is very good. It is it's a throwback to comedy specials in that it's one take, it's one shot, it's him, hard camera, jokes. It's not, he did it over multiple shows. All the comedy specials that you guys watch now, it's done over multiple shows, the vast majority of them, and then spliced all together. And sometimes there's a laugh track, which makes it obnoxious as hell. Nah, Eric Terrell's is the real deal. It's him. That audience, you hear it, you feel it, everything. So if you have Amazon Prime, hey man, put $10 down and check out Eric Terrell. He's very funny.
Definitely.
Good suggestion. I think Kirk might have given that suggestion when it first dropped, didn't you?
I may have, yeah. I'm not sure.
Eric Terrell.
Yeah, but overall, just always shout out to him.
I wanted to touch on the point that you just made, though, Setoiyo. I've seen comedians like they'll have like they record a special and they have like 2 shows a night. Yeah. I didn't know that they were like taking. They literally like wear the same clothes.
Yeah, they wear the same. They wear the same thing. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's on the same night too, though.
Yep.
It's like they'll do like 7 then 9 o'clock.
Yep. You'll have a 7 show, a 9 show. I opened for Calvin Evans at Healing Comic Club. He did his album taping, 2 shows, and best believe that it's going to be spliced together. It was for all intents and purposes the same set, but he's going to have to look at both sets and see. I like this joke on the early show. I like this joke on the late show. And then the engineer has to get together and then create an album out of those 2 shows.
I never knew that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Hey, it's all game out here. You know it is. It's all game out here, man.
I think that's like I don't know. Some people could see that and think like it's like deceptive, but I feel like that's progression. It's progression comedy right there. Like it's not just like, oh, we're gonna do this in one take and just treat it like it's this little project. It's like, no, this is like what I'm working on. This is something I've been working on for years. I want the best product. Yeah. And also you get like sales from 2 different shows too.
Yes.
So I think that's like I think that's a good practice.
I get to doing the 2 shows thing, but I always thought like the first show was just like make sure I got it all down pat, and then the second show I would just murder it. But I didn't know they were just combining the footage and putting it together like that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just combine and put it together, bro. Like if you watch, and this is why I don't watch a lot of comedy specials, honestly. The last one I did watch kind of depressed me because you could see, I'm like, that was you could that little 30 seconds there, that's a different time. It's actually a totally different, because you were sweating in this clip and now you dry all of a sudden. It's a different show, bro. Oh my God. And again, what was even wild about that is they had piped in laughter. But again, it's game. Now these people are funny. Their comedy cannot be questioned. Right. It was a way to maximize, because it's all for TV. It's all for Netflix. It's all for the streamings. So it's just like it's just them overproducing the product. So to that end, to watch it on TV, it kind of bugs my brain a little bit. To listen to it, it's much easier for me. But like to hear that laugh track in there, I was like, bro, I'm so happy for this person because they deserve this. and no one else will really, the layman's won't really know. But watching this makes me sad, so I'm going to stop. You know,
sometimes it's a different experience of like you like watching someone, like you mentioned before, like they're all funny, but seeing them in person versus the avenue of a recording where it may be overproduced, I could see how that could bring a little bit of a sadness to it.
Yes, yeah.
And I feel like the most almost turning it on its head example of it was the Kill a Messenger by Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Where he was like, I'm doing this in different locations. Like he didn't try to like clip it. It was just like, here's a joke beginning of it. Where I think there's like one I'm in DC, and the next one he was in Africa. I was like, all right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, my man Kill a Messenger was interesting because he was literally saying, hey, here's game. Here's what it actually is. And yeah, because he had Bigger and Blacker, I think it was. He had the live special, and then he had his audio, and they were two different shows. They were two totally Bigger, and it's interesting because he killed on TV, and then his audio show, like the audio was much tougher. Like that crowd was tight. They were tight as fuck. Yeah. And I was like, I've watched this on TV. He murdered, you know, and then listening to it, I'm like, y'all aren't. And I remember listening to that with no concept of ever doing comedy. And I remember even then knowing, man, they kind of picky, you know.
I could see some like bits of, there was a Never Scared that he did. I could see there would be someone there where it's like the audience could be like maybe tight, and how like they would be able to enhance it for TV. Yeah. Something I wanted to mention to you. So I like the idea of, and you mentioned this a little bit of like opening for people, whether Helium, Punchline, and kind of working with a lot of like national performers and national headliners. I saw a while back you did John Witherspoon, which I was like, that's so cool. What would you say for those that may be doing like open mics and like maybe get an opportunity to host or even feature for some of these bigger names? How do you navigate that from a social aspect? Like say like you're in the green room, an individual, how do you go about that?
Well, understand that you ain't the show, right? You're the add-on to the show. You are supposed to be, if nothing else, best case scenario, you are the pleasant surprise. And then sometimes you are just the thing that helps the show move along. Right. So you have to be, especially if you're the host, you got to be flexible, because the truth of the matter is, when you're not the headliner, the time that you're working, your boss is actually the headliner. The headliner could fire you at any moment. Right. I've seen it happen, justified and unjustified. Right. Wow. So the headliner could be like, yo, most headliners that I've encountered have been cool. They're cool people, right? Even if they're superstars, they may just be aloof. They may not want you in the green room, especially with COVID. They may not want you in the green room. Right. That's totally understandable, because they got shit to do. And they're like, it's not even disrespect. It's like, hey, bro, I got stuff coming up. I can't really, this is my job, you know? Yeah. So being flexible is a huge part of that. Punchline is great because they got two green rooms. So it's like, I really don't need to be in the same room with this person, especially during the pandemic. We ships in the night. So it's not really necessary.
That's for both parties.
Yeah. Go up, say hi, be respectful, know how to do your job. In that, if you're hosting, your job is to get them ready for humor. So be a person who knows how to be humorous. Also be a person who knows how to engage the audience. When you are hosting, not only do you have to be funny, you have to engage them in the act of laughter and in the act of making noise. So it's not enough to be like, hey, what's up? It's your punchline, or hey, my name is this. I'm going to do some jokes. Nah, tell them what night it is. Tell them who the headliner is. Like say, yo, the headline, this is the person you paid to see. Let's give it up for that. Engage them constantly, and then hit them with your jokes and be interactive and present with them. That's your job as the host, because then you also have to learn what they want to be brought up with. So the feature may have some shit that they want to be said. You've got to remember that. You've got to remember that for the headliner. Also be flexible in that the headliner may say something like, hey man, after the feature, can you do 5 more minutes? The reason the headliner's doing that is that it's to even the slate again, right? Because for all intents and purposes, that feature is supposed to crush them. The feature is the one that's ascending. They're supposed to smash that audience, best case scenario, and that's great. But the headliners will be like, yeah, I need that evened out though. I just need that evened out. And then you, as the host, are going to have to go back up there when these people want to see the headliner, and you are going to have to deprive them from what they want. And in all likelihood, they will be mad at you. They will think that you are selfish. They will think you did it. And they will be tough, and you will be doing your jokes, and they will not be happy with you.
Yeah. I think
and you have to, and you got to eat it. You got to sit there and be like, all right, this is going to be tough. You do that 5, you bring out the headliner. And that's just what that is. You know, like it's just, I remember Eric Terrell told me a story where open for a dude. I can't remember the dude's name. He's a legend. He's no longer with us. Damn. But the man just didn't want to come out. Man just didn't. He'd be like, I'm sorry, it was Daryl Charles that told me this. He's like, man did not want to come out. So he'd be like, give it up for da-da-da. And the audience would clap and da-da-da. And he would just be like, and man was not coming out. Man was inside reading the newspaper in the green room, just reading the newspaper. And so Daryl had to keep on like he had to keep on working them.
Was because the feature was very good and they wanted that even out sort of thing.
No, man was just reading the newspaper.
Oh, okay, that happens.
Yeah, man was he wasn't worried about no feature. He a legend. He was like, he ain't worried about nothing like that. Ain't nobody gonna crush as hard as me. When you're that level, like there's a difference when you're opening up for a national headliner and opening up for a legend, right? John Witherspoon is a legend. He don't give a damn about. Ain't nobody crushing. You know, when he was with us, nobody's burying him. Like, it's just not gonna happen. He's a legend. David Allen Greer is a legend. Nobody's burying him, right? You know, so it's like rocking them. Nobody's burying them. You know, but he just was unconcerned. And then he came out when he was ready. The door opened and Daryl was, oh, he's ready. He's like, give it up. And then boom. And he was like, and when I tell you that no one would look at me after the show, and he was, I had a good set, but because of that, boom, but you're the host, you have to be flexible. As the feature, the headliner. Yeah, exactly. As the feature's the best job in the world to me. Like if you're working in a comedy club, aside from like the headliner you have other stressors as the headliner. Right. You know, it's about selling the place out. That's a totally different situation. Feature, you just get to go up there and rock out for 20 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then you're done. then you are done. So as the feature, I mean, it's still kind of the same deal, especially if you don't know the headliner. I mean, you know, if the headliner's cool and they're engaging, y'all can kick it. Otherwise, just sort of be out of the way. Right. And then go up, do your set, smash them. Because as the headliner, your main gig, if the host does their job, your main gig, you get to be funny. You just get to you get to be funny and all that other stuff. That's it. The headliner can still be like, hey, don't do this to both the host and the feature. And the both parties have to like agree to that. But like other than that, as a feature, you have so much more freedom just to be funny.
Have you ever had an experience where a headliner may have asked you not to talk about a particular topic because they may or they just don't? I know sometimes they'll be like, hey, maybe less so for features hosting, like, hey, don't curse up front, or hey, don't use particular language. Have you gotten any notable requests from a headliner?
Yeah, no cursing. I've had that one before. And there was a joke that I told and he was like, hey, could you not do that? Because I have a similar joke to that. Right. And he wanted to be the only one that told that joke. And here's the thing. Now that it didn't hurt my set at all because it's not supposed to, but it's one of those things where, okay, now you have to make an accommodation. How do I still make this set as strong as effective as I can for the purposes of this show? Because that joke tied into the city that I was in. Yeah. Right. So it's like, you're taking that thing away from me. Now I can't pull them in with this regional reference or thing. I can't pull them in with that. I got to pull them in other ways. But yeah, you just have to be down for that. Also, when I started working clubs, it's a little different because we used to have to like audition. You know what I'm saying? Like you used to have to audition, and the audition you had to be clean.
Right.
So it's kind of like I was used to the idea of being clean in terms of clean meaning like not cursing. I was used to that sort of anyway, but those have only really been the only two requests. Other than that, like sometimes a headliner may be like, yo, kill 5 minutes or hey, wait 90 seconds. Don't just bring me up right away. Right. And then sometimes I've featured and the headliner's been like, hey man, I want you to do 35. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why? I gotta take a shit. Yeah. So then that's just what that is, you know?
Yeah, that's I was gonna say What's your etiquette when it comes to taking pictures with the headliner? Because I know that for me personally, I hate asking people to take pictures. Like, even though I'd be like, yo, I should take a picture with this person. They're dope. I want to show my kids, show people. Like, how do you feel about like taking pictures with the headliners?
Man, I hate that shit. because generally it's like you got some, you either trying to go home or trying to go to the next thing. But it is one of those things, like, to your point, you're correct. It's like, yeah, but I got to show people I was here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like on some cases, I'll just be like, yo, can we just get a picture real quick? And that's just generally it. Now there's some cases where I didn't even care. I was gonna get that picture. Like John Witherspoon, I was gonna get that picture.
Right.
I was gonna get that picture. Like, hey, man, I was like, hey, you know what? At this point, you the man to me. So I'm gonna bother him. I gotta send this to my mama, So, but yeah, by and large, especially now, man, it's like, all right. But it's the process of like, yeah, let's snap this thing for the headliner. I'm sure for them, it's like, I know you might not even really remember. This is another town. It's another city for you. It's a different thing for you entirely. But yeah,
they probably get it to an extent though, of like, oh, okay, well, from an advertising standpoint for this person on the come up sort of thing, I think most of them could understand, like, oh yeah, that makes sense that they would want this.
This is a thing to do. But what's so interesting to your point, Massenburg, it's like, I think the last 2 people I worked with, I don't think I did at all. I worked Josh Prey, and then I worked Mitch Fattel. And had it not been for the host, I wouldn't have done it. Like, it literally was the host being like, yo, we got to get a picture. Because I was so like I was so not in the headspace. And I think probably I was just having such a fun time because I wasn't opening that I was like, whatever. And then they were like, oh no, we got to get a picture. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that. Okay, cool.
Sometimes
whatever.
It's the best when someone else proposes it.
Yeah,
like that's
really
like, oh well, all right. Well, if someone else opened that can.
Real rap, had it not been for them, I would have just gone home with just a check. Like, just the check in the audio file. That's it.
Setoiyo's big time. I don't need a picture with these guys. I'll see them later.
I wasn't even. I was just like, so not because it's like you said, it's a stressful thing to do, and since it's one of your least favorite things to do in the process, after a while, I like my head just wasn't even there. I was like, oh yeah, that should happen too.
It could feel almost like an extension of the job, like we were talking about with hosting, of like being like having to remember the credits, having to maybe do more time. Something I believe I got from you and Alex Perlman actually, and from them boys, the podcast you guys host, of hosting being like you're a jukebox up there. Yep. Very much just like, oh yeah, well, your content necessarily isn't the most important part. It's good if you're able to hit those points, like the job points, and then do your thing. Then you could be that special surprise of like, oh wow, that was actually very pleasant. That's what I aim for whenever I host, of like, just be very pleasant, just be very pleasant up there, and for the most part they'll maybe ask you back, sort of thing.
Yeah, your best bet is to be a surprise.
Yeah,
as a host, because I'm gonna say it. It's not expected for the host to be good. It just isn't. Right. I remember doing Funny Bone in upstate New York, and the host was very green. And I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. I could not believe what I was seeing because where I stay at, there was a demand for the host to be incredibly efficient, incredibly effective. You almost had to be overly prepared for the situation to the point that and then to go to be in upstate and to work their Funny Bones, and their hosts were new. Yeah. And it was just like, so it's not even expected that the host is to be particularly competent, which is why it's even so much more important that you be very competent. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because it ain't the norm. It's not the norm. So go above that norm. The norm is not great in every place. So be well above that.
I think it also mentions like where you go to.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Of like, because I've seen some spots where it's like, one of the first comedy shows I ever went to, like before even doing comedy, was like the Ha Comedy Club in Times Square.
Yeah.
And literally the host was probably one of my best takeaways from it.
Yep.
I still remember like the way they were able to engage the crowd. seeing crowd work for the first time and like, whoa, he really just pulled that out of nowhere sort of thing. Like I still remember his sets throughout the night and how like he was able to like tie everything back in. And I'm sure like the features and the headliners, they're good too, but like the host of that one, it was like, oh, that seemed like they got someone that they know is also funny.
Yeah.
But then you see the other ones.
And that host was probably in a position where they were also a feature.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And maybe we're headlining a one night. It was just like the context. So like, yeah, the best compliment that you can get as a host is when someone comes up to you and says, you were my favorite part of the show, which I have heard, heard when I will totally disagree with their take because I know who the headliner was. And I think that person's like one of the funniest humans to ever exist, but I appreciate their sentiment. I appreciate the sentiment because it was real to them. And it's like, oh, that was you being that pleasant surprise, you know, but also it's like, keep in mind, there's some again, like for instance, I'll never forget this. Context is important. This was years ago before all the news came out and everything like that. But I remember Chip Chantry hosted for Louis C.K. And guess what? That is a totally appropriate situation. Like it's like, no, that is correct. That was Louis C.K. at that time. And Chip Chantry had to go out there. And you know what the first thing Chip Chantry said? He said, hello, welcome to Helium Comedy Club. I am the one keeping you from Louis C.K. Like, you have to deal with me. And it cracked him so hard because here's a headliner who's worked with killers like Chappelle and Bob Saget and, you know, guys like that, who has done every part of the job, who's been a host for years, who would then be a feature, who would then be a national headliner, he's played every part. So the fact that I'm working with one of these legend dudes, I know, okay, you need me to do what? How much? Okay, cool. I get to work with that guy, which helps me still, even though like I'm ascending and I know how to do this job front to back.
Yeah.
And it was a masterful performance, especially if you know Chip Chantry and his style of humor.
That's like an example of Beyond the Jukebox.
Yes.
They ever do a show on comedy about hosts, call it Beyond the Jukebox.
Right.
Which is like we chronicles the life of a host going through their days.
Yes.
So Setoiyo, you Kirk mentioned your podcast, Them Boys. You host that. Do you host? And when's the last time you like hosted and ran your own room? You know what I mean?
Oh, bro. You know what's so funny? Probably like 2015, after 2015, 2016, because I ran Raven from 2013 to 2015. And I remember giving the game away. I remember letting that go. And I actually haven't gone back to running a room yet. Now I have helped out on rooms. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay. So if like, let's say when Sucks was going on and Kat would be like, yo, can you host this half? I'm like, okay, cool. But in terms of actually like running and doing the promotion and all that other stuff, man, Raven was a battlefield. And I wanted that room to get as close to what Center City had it as. Because it was necessary for myself that the room be good when I run it. And you know, just to keep up with that lineage. But yeah, that room was a lot. That room was a lot, not just from the perspective, not just from dealing with comedians, but just dealing with the owner. You know, the space was a lot. And I was sort of the de facto leader in that I was there first. I was the first one there. Last one to leave, in charge of doing promotions, all that, dealing with the egos of the talent, dealing with the needs and wants of the owner. So after 2 years, man, I was good. I was good.
Because it was like I know they've kind of like switched different hosts, but while you were doing it, it was like around 5 hosts.
Yeah, it was Brian Six. Initially, the original crew was Brian Six, John Del Calo, Matt McCusker, and myself. And then it morphed into the core of that group, then more so became Keen Cobb, Brian Six, Charles Bliznick for a time, and myself. So that sort of became like the core of my 2-year tenure within that. That's
a wild group right there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we were doing wild things.
I'm curious, some insight on this. You mentioned dealing with the comics sort of thing. Like we talk about being on stage and commanding stage and being so that like they can't even give you the light sort of thing. Being on the other end of that, how was that navigation in terms of like maybe telling a comic like, hey, Kurt Metzger just came in, or hey, we haven't really seen you before. This is the lineup you may not be on until like 1 a.m. What were some of those workings like?
I found those to be very direct conversations, right? So to me, the vast majority of them, I shouldn't have to tell you. If the headliner from the club comes in, you know what it is. They are not. They ain't doing 5 minutes. They just aren't. They aren't doing 5 minutes, bro. They're gonna do like we were like, okay, at the very least, they doing 20. That's just what it is, because it helps us. It makes us look better. It makes the show better. And then you got to sit there and have the uncomfortable conversation with some cats and be like, hey, man, we don't know you. Nobody's vouched for you. So, we will try not to bury you, but we can't guarantee that it's going to be an early night for you. And then in some cases, especially if you are new, I'd be straight with them like, yeah, you're going to go later. But, and I know that can be demoralizing. If you need to leave, I get it. At the same time, if you choose to stay, hey, man, that's really good on you. I know it's not easy. The best advice I can give you is when you go up there, try to act like it's 9 o'clock again. If you spent your whole night here, and you chose to be here all night, you owe it to yourself to go up there and have as good a set as you possibly can. It is very easy to get demoralized, but if you actually want to do this ain't the half. You just gonna need to power through this. And I found that if I just tell you that up front, if I tell you that immediately, more often than not, people would carry it well, because I wasn't being deceptive. I was just being straightforward. I was just letting you know off rip.
Yeah, I like that the line you said. Act like it's 9 o'clock again. You know what
right.
I wish someone would have told me that, because one time, I never forget when I first started comedy, like I got bumped to the end of the mic like 2 weeks in a row, and I was like the first to sign up. And I got pushed 25th, and I tried to fight the host. I never forget it. And I remember, like, after I was like a couple more years in, I finally seen the host actually at Fergie's one night, and I apologized to him. Like, yo, man, I was wrong. Like, I didn't understand comedy etiquette. I just thought you were being disrespectful. You know what I mean? Have you ever had anyone try to get like aggressive with you about where they?
Oh yeah. I've had. I think there's probably more, but I can't remember, or the guys who were running the room with me just didn't want me to know that information, so they just never told me, which is also very likely. But no, I can remember 5 situations where guys wanted to get at me. And in every situation, they were incorrect. And in 3 of those situations, they apologized. But again, it's one of those. It's like I always look at it like this: when you are performing in front of an audience, you have to keep in mind that the audience is bringing their week into that show. They're bringing their day into that show, right? Your job is to make them forget about the shit that is their lives, while getting yourself over, right? Comics are much the same way. So when you run a show like that, running a show like Raven, goodness, dude, we would have 60 people sign up. Just a crazy number. So these comics are bringing their day, and in many cases, their mental disorders into this situation. Yeah. So, and again, in every single one of those situations, I was as clear as I possibly could be, because I knew the truth is the only tool that I have to let them know that this is not a personal thing. Mm-hmm. It will only be personal if you disrespect the room. Right. And even that, if you disrespect the room, it only becomes personal, because then it's like, well, you're bad for the show. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're bad for the show, then there's an issue. But I don't want this to be personal, because this is just my job. I don't want to, in every single instance, 9 times out of 10, it's like, I don't even want to know that person all like that. Yeah. But the most, I think the funniest one was this guy. I ain't gonna say his name, because that would be talking about someone who doesn't matter. But he was, and I let him know what it was. I just let him know what it was straight up. I'm like, hey man, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. I know you want to go up first half and everything like that. That's just not gonna be how it is, but here's what I will give you. And he goes up there, it doesn't go well. He tries to go over, and the rule we used to have is, if you going over, we're just gonna turn the music up on you. Right. That was it, because we had to keep the show running, right? It is not a meritocracy, right? It just isn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, you not this, you're actually killing the show. You're going over, I'm turning the music up on you. And music gets turned up on him, and then he's just like, just starts motherfuckering me, and everything's like, you want this? You want some of this? You want some? And
you
I just
specifically
remember,
or the room?
Yeah, me. And I just remember like, and again, keep in mind, I just always looked at it like this. Hey, think about the mentality of a person who leaves a very comfortable life in Columbus, Ohio to move to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. What do you think I am with? So I just remember standing up and I'm be like, you serious right now? And he starts yelling. And I remember being like, he just starts yelling. I'm like, you don't raise your voice at a grown man. Right. And he just stopped. And he just stopped. And I was like, get off the fucking stage.
Yeah.
And he just got off the stage.
He
and then
as he got, you.
Yeah. I was like, bro, like, I've been here since, I remember that day. I've been there since 5 o'clock cleaning up the room.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, this is not going to happen. And if it does happen, I mean, one, how ridiculous would that be? You really trying to, where are we supposed to be making people laugh? You want to engage in fisticuffs right now?
Yeah.
Nigga, talk to your therapist, bro. What the fuck? I don't know what to do. That was the one that was sort of like weirdly the most ridiculous. But there were others that dudes would be like, I can't believe it. I'm like, hey man, you need to stop. And generally I was very dispassionate about every encounter, because it's like, you are projecting your anger. I am the sort, like, you think that I'm the one doing this. Yeah. When realistically, bruh, this is just what this is sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're trying to put this on me. Realistically, I'm not going to give you what you want, because that would personalize this issue.
Right.
And we don't need that.
Because they're coming in with their week, like you mentioned, sort of thing. Like they're coming in with other stuff, and it's just almost like, oh, here's a triggering factor that's going to release the anger, and then it's easy to put that on to the one person.
And given that we run in this show, I have to understand that, but I have to be a constant. My homies who run the show with me, we have to be a constant. So while we may know this and hate the shit that you do, this is the job that we have chosen to do. As a result, no, this cannot be a personalized situation. Nah, you got to get over there. That's not how we're doing this.
It's good that you got a team too.
Yeah. And there would definitely be times like I remember there was like a month period where King Cobb would not let me stay the whole night. He'd be like, you need to go home. He's like, you need to go. They're too many. They trying to get at. And he was like, because you talk to everybody. So since you talk to everybody, the ones who like flip out, even when you tell them the truth, you're the only one that's really talking to them. So you're the only one they think they can get at. And I'm like, yeah, but we got to talk to them, because if we don't talk to them and we leave them in the dark, they start coming up with conspiracy theories in their fucking head. Because if they're getting no information, they'll come up with bad information. You know what I'm saying? You
kind of touched on this a little bit earlier of like, okay, if you're going to a mic that goes on until after 1 a.m. and you know that you may be going up that late, and if you know that's going to be an issue for you, don't go to that mic.
Yeah.
Just don't go to that mic. Like obviously if you want to like really work on the skill sets that mic can give you, stick it out. But if that's like that much of a matter where you're going to be like contesting it with the people that run it, I don't think you should ever go into a room and tell the people how to run their show.
Yeah, but bro, I've had comics try to bribe me. I've had comics be like, I will give you money. You want to fuck my girl? Like real shit. And I remember this older gentleman came, my real suave dude. You know what I'm saying? You could tell he was a problem when he was a young man. And he was like, hey man, let me just give you $200 right now if I just get up early. I was like, and he brought people. I was like, I can't do that.
Bro, that's not a bad deal. What do you mean you couldn't?
But it's like, bro, that's information to be used against me later. I do that, and it's like, if you're willing to bribe me, you are willing to talk about having bribed me if that bribe goes through successfully. I take that money. You tell people I take that money. And then I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You don't come back from that one. I was like, nah, I can't even. And I was like, I appreciate it, but I was like, I cannot do that. I can't do. And I was honest. I was like, sir, I don't even know you like that. What's to say you wouldn't sit there and go tell people that I do this? Then all of a sudden you bring in your homies, and all they know is they just got to pay me to do that. Then that becomes a part of my narrative. Bruh, hey man, listen, that's not all money is good money.
That's foresight right there. Yeah, that is some foresight right there.
That's being raised by a Nigerian woman. She's like, always think ahead. Always think ahead. Like,
yeah, you were a good man to it.
Right? Hey, man, my cell phone bill was due. I was stressed. I needed that money, and I said, nah, you can hold that. That's yours. But
yeah, going up at 12:45.
You always have to. In my experiences, you always have to give people information. If we're cutting time, we got to tell you we're cutting time. so that we got to tell you immediately. We got to make an announcement on that. Also, we have to make an announcement that some of y'all who drink, you got to tip the bartender. It's a lot of like, you know, and that's not even dealing with the audience. Then you got to deal with some audience members who are like trash, and you like, you gotta get out. You know what I'm saying? That's just sort of what it is. But I think the breaking point for me in terms of leaving that show, and I didn't even think about it. I hadn't even thought about the fuck. I haven't really run anything since. It was 2 years is kind of like should be your max. You know what I'm saying? Especially if running a showcase, a mic that basically runs itself like a showcase. So 2 years should be, you kind of should be on to something else. You know what I'm saying? After that. And also what it was like, I remember just being tired of dealing with the egos of performers who were already in good positions. And I remember there was one particular week where the room was full and it was just a rough night. It's one of those weird nights at Raven when there are people there, but they are tight. Yeah. And we had made decisions and we were calling audibles because a lot of times, you know, I remember our first half used to be, sometimes you just had to call an audible. You'd be like, all right, energy's dipping. Nah, that person needs to go up next. We can't wait. We got to put them up because you had to keep this show going because we had to turn a profit. You know, these shows, we had to make $1,000 in sales a night. Yeah. We had to clear that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it was like stressful. And if we didn't clear it, I was hearing about it. And I just remember we were trying to make these audibles. We gave a look to a comic who had something and they did not have a good set, but we were willing to take the risk. And then we tried to call another audible and it just didn't work. The comic who had the issue, they go up and they're just like, you know, you guys were great. These hosts don't know what the fuck they're doing. I didn't even remember that because the night, okay, cool, whatever. You shit on us. That's fine. It's part of the business. I feel nothing. The next day, they slide in our DMs and just say the wildest, most disrespectful shit.
Oh, damn.
And I remember messaging everybody in the group and being like, don't respond. I was like, don't say anything. If you respond with the same type of energy that you're getting right now, that person is going to post that. Yeah. That person is going to use all of that. Don't respond.
Foresight.
Yeah. I was like, don't respond. I'll talk to them. And I spent the whole day talking to this grown person about a fucking mic.
Right.
And I remember being like, yo, man, I stand on what I stand on. That's just the night it was. And you can say all this disrespectful stuff, but again, this is not personal. You're not gonna get me to go there, bro. That's not. I'm here to work, do my job, become a better comedian. I do not have time to be caught up in this disrespect. I don't have time to do it. So, you know, we had the conversation. He appreciated me for having the conversation with him. And I was like, and I did appreciate the conversation because we were just having. I'm like, all right, cool, man. It is what it is. You know, it ain't nothing. But I know what you said. I know how you think of me, and that's totally fine.
Right.
The next week. Packed room again, smoke show. Everybody crushes. Everybody does great. Everybody murders. Everybody destroys. He goes up. He crushes.
Nice.
And then he goes, and then the half ends, and he's like, "Hey, man, great show," and goes to shake my hand. I shook his hand, and I remember being like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm done," because I was like, "Oh, hey, bro, I ain't even from here. This ain't even my home. East Coast ain't my home. I came. You know what? I did this." To help me because it ain't altruistic, but also in a sense it did help the scene. So like you know what? I ain't even from here. Y'all more from here than I am. Y'all can have it back.
What a part about him shaking the hand? What part of that did that for you? Of like
weird level of cognitive dissonance. Weird, right. You know what I'm saying? Is like weird level. Nah, man, listen. I believe you when you say what you say about me.
Yeah.
So let's just keep that moving. You can say great night, cool. What? Listen, because it was that's also a factually true thing. But in that moment, it was like, hey man, nobody wants to give you mad. When everything goes well, you don't hear shit. Right. It's when things don't go to plan on those rare instances, because when you cultivate a thing, when you can guarantee its success more often than not, and it goes wrong on those instances, on those rare instances where it doesn't work out the way that it should, which will happen, that's when all of a sudden everybody got something to say. They don't have anything to say for those other 5 weeks of great stuff. It's that one-off week that everyone wants to focus in on. And I remember just being like, yo, man, I don't want to be in service to other comedians. I was like, I just don't want to be in service to other comedians. When if I actually, in that point in my head, I was like, I'm doing this I already have to be in service to the audience. I have to be in service to the bookers. I have to be in service to all this. I got to be in service to all these other people. Yeah. And then I got to be in service to a bunch of comics. Some of them grown. Some of them are doing very well. Nah, right. I'm okay. I'm okay. And
it's good to recognize that.
Yeah, because I didn't want to get overly jaded, because comedy will jade you, and the entertainment industry will jade you. And I was like, so as a result, I was like, nah, if I stay in this too long, that's going to cause unnecessary jading. I need to get out of that, because there are going to be other things that are going to frustrate me, and this can no longer continue to be one of them. Plus, I've done my 2 years, and I think I'm good.
Yeah, the idea of mixing passion, something you enjoy, with a career. Is something that and it's interesting getting the insight of that side of it, of like, oh, the actual job and logistical side of running what's supposed to be a fun night.
Yeah.
Of like really hearing that side of it. I think it's kind of builds that comparison even more of like, oh yeah, this is something that you love doing, but you got to be careful doing what you love, because you're going to run to that side of it as well.
Exactly. You got to think about the human element of it as well. I remember for 2 years, my Fridays were ruined for 2 years straight. I would be so tired. I couldn't do a whole lot. If I had a show.
Raven, for those that don't, is on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
So the next morning, Fridays.
Yeah. So like literally Raven took up the bulk part of my week. Every Friday, I was thinking about the next Raven. Like it just never ended. I was in a continual loop. I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, Thursday morning, and I already have people texting me that they're coming through. You know what I'm saying? Like established dudes texting me that they're coming through. I've become a worse partner to my girlfriend at the time, because I'm just out, I'm just out here in the street. I am becoming a less functional person. and I think that that was me. That was one of the first times I was really, no, you actually have to be a functional human being as well as a functional comedian. Some people can be not functional as people and they can still be very successful comedians. Hey, bro, I don't think that's you. I think you actually have to be a functional person and also have to be, in order to be a functional comedian. So it was creating sort of a boundary right there. You know what I'm saying? Because that was a weekly. Running a monthly show would be a different thing entirely. But it's never come to my mind to do that. Plus, like by that point, I was just like, nah, I'm making a go of this. And then, I started working clubs and stuff like that, which was cool. So I was like, okay, well then get better in these spaces and do the burb shows, do the club shows, do all that other stuff. Like do these things, be a better comedian. We've learned how to be a facilitator of comedy, and from the logistical aspect of it, continue to be a strong comedian.
And that you are, Setoiyo.
Yeah, man. It's cool seeing your trajectory. Even just the idea of like, oh, put those years in now to like doing the club, suburban shows. I see you did the Nigerian Prince show.
Yeah, that was fun.
Cool. That was like out in like what, Valley Forge?
Yeah, it's out in Valley Forge. Yeah.
I'm not too far from that. That's right.
Straight up Nigerians, Liberians, all that stuff. We was in Yahoo Business. You know what I'm saying? Like had write-ups done on us, and it was cool. It was a fun time. But it's like, that's the shit that you should be doing. Establishing your brand or your base. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, all right, cool. You've done the taking care of comics thing. You've done that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you need to do it for the purposes of building up yourself. If you got a banging ass show that establishes you, because real dudes, and when I say dudes, I mean human beings who are very proficient at comedy. When you and it's like, yo, come on to my show and your show got buzzed like that, do that shit. Because that helps you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it only builds up you and your brand. So it's like, there was that. I ran Raven, and when I ran Raven, initially I needed it more than it needed me. And then it got to a point where I was like, oh, you need me more than I need you. The job is
facilitator. You know the job, the ins and outs sort of thing.
As a result, the job has been done. My tenure is complete.
Man. Appreciate the insight, man. This has been fun. We got a lot of like comedy. We always try to discuss comedy on here, but it's nice having what I deem a heavyweight to drop some knowledge on. So we appreciate that, man.
You're very kind.
Yeah, man. What are where can the people find you? The people in these streets. Where can I find you at?
You can find me on all the social media platforms at Setoiyo1. That is Setoiyo1 on all the things at that. In terms of, I'm at Punchline tonight, but y'all ain't gonna be there because you can't time wise, it cannot. No, but I post all my shows, and I post the things that I have coming up. I think have some rather big news coming up, and it is confirmed, but not enough to my liking to where I feel like saying anything yet.
Right.
But but you follow me on the platforms. When it is confirmed in a way that satiates me, you will be the first to know. And it is a humdinger. I tell you that.
Nice.
Dang, looking forward to that. And also check out his podcast, Them Boys, Alex Perlman. Shout out to Alex Perlman. So definitely check that out. Alan, where can people find us? Where you speak for me. Where can they find us?
You can find Kirk on my Instagram at Alan Massenburg.
Yes, very true. Very true.
Yes.
No, yeah. Follow us everywhere. Proper Ebonics. You know, the Twitter, we got 9 followers now, so we're doing good. Yeah, but what is today's? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where you've been doing comedy at recently, though.
Today, I blocked off today with comedy for the Usman Covington fight. Like a month in advance. Like no. So for me, I'll be at the Lab in Ambler on the 18th. Megan Getz show she's doing out there. And on the 25th, hosting a Thanksgiving band jam in Bethlehem with the Groove Merchants. So if you want to see me, Tyler Rothrock, Emily Posh, and the Groove Merchants, along with some other bands outside the Steel Factory, come through.
Nice.
Nice.
We thank y'all for tuning in. Setoiyo, thank you again for joining.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, like, subscribe. We're around episode 100. Peace.
Peace.